camera, action, that's it. Lights, 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 camera, action, that's it.
Hello, my name is Arianna Harris, producer and host of Aim for the Stars, where you'll meet the stars of today and of tomorrow. I'm an actress and model from the East Coast of the United States, and this show is brought to you by Jess TV and Jess FM Radio from Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm pleased to introduce my next guest, Danny M. Gray. Danny is an author, actor, and military veteran. Hello, Danny. I'm so excited that you could join me today.
Oh, yes, indeed. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for the introduction.
Of course, I am very excited to talk about your newest publication, which is Blindsided. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, Blindsided is it's about a relationship, and the lead character in the novel finds out that he's being betrayed. And towards the middle of the book, he starts to realize that things that he planned from since his college days with his sweetheart has always been a lie. And then it starts to filter into how he's going to manipulate it to work in his favor.
Do you see any parts of you in this character or any of the characters you've written? Or how is it like relatable to you, or is this just like completely different?
Well, every novel that I write, it always incorporates the military. Some form or fashion will have the military in it. So from that standpoint, yes, there's always that little piece of the military. The military was such a big factor in my life. But then there's also bits and pieces that relate to a higher power. Although I don't focus on that, I always want to honor my culture, where I came from, my background, and so I always incorporate that. So from that standpoint, yes, it is.
Where is this book available at?
We can get this book at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or any of the major online retailers. You can also go out to my website, DannyMandelGray.com, and it's available there, or you can reach out to me and I can get you a copy of the book. It's funny that you asked that. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to go to my hometown of Maple Hill, North Carolina, and I was asked to speak to the youth of our community. And it was just to show for Black History Month that success, or what we presume as success, can be accomplished even from the neighborhood we come from. We come from a small knit group in Maple Hill, North Carolina, and that opportunity from the elders, from the people that I grew up with, gave me the opportunity to want to go back and make sure that I'm pouring back into our community. But while I was there, I was asked to participate in some of the community events. And I just saw a lot of people that I had not spent a lot of time with. And when I think about my writing and my creativity from that, it all stems from the background that I had growing up and the way our families were intertwined. We were just part of one big family, how we went to church together, how we worked in the blueberry fields together, how we worked in the tobacco fields together, and just how we were one big family and always growing closer to one another. But the key in that is I always had strong men, whether it was my father, my stepfather, my uncles. I had strong men in my background to guide me in a direction that I think stays with me today.
So when you have a writer's block, how do you personally overcome that?
Well, I do so many other things, right? So it's not necessarily a writer's block. I think for me now with technology, I have the ability to, if something comes to my mind while I'm driving or riding down the highway, I can record that, right? And save it for a later date. But I also have the opportunity to just, you know, pin some things down as I'm thinking through that. So I don't really necessarily think I have a writer's block. My approach to writing is relatively different than some people that I've spoke with. I like to come up with a devastating ending, something that the reader will say, I never saw that coming. And then I start with how I would like to see the book come in. And then all the stuff in the middle is just part of that middle. And it's things that you've seen in your life, things that you've read about, things that as you said, you're an actor and I'm an actor as well. So some of the characters that you portray in these roles and just your feeling, the things that life has brought you to. I have several novels that I've started, but with life being lifing, right? You know, I work a full-time job. I'm in the software industry, and you know, my little roles that I play in the movies, and then trying to write. I don't think I have a sense of time for writer's block.
So, when and like, how did you start writing? Like, what age and why?
I was in the third grade, and I tell people this story, but my teacher in my third grade class, she was very attractive. And I thought that if my penmanship was perfected and that I read well, that she would fall in love with me. And that's how I started. And I started making sure my letters were touching the lines and things like that. But as I progressed, I just found a need to write, to express myself. But it wasn't until I got in the military that I really started to focus on writing. And while I was overseas, whether it was Germany, I had the opportunity to sit down and think about and put down on paper my feelings. And that became poems, and that turned into songs. And then I started writing short stories. And one day, probably about 10 years ago, I just wanted to challenge myself and to see if I could put a good novel together that made sense from beginning to end. Because I've always had the writer idea of how do these guys do that? How do you keep your mind focused that long to get a novel written, or even to do a movie script? And it has to make sense from beginning to end. And so that has always captivated my spirit. And so now I do it. It's my pleasure. It's my passion. I don't, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night at 3, which you probably do as well, 3, 4 in the morning, and I'm downstairs in my office and I'm writing. Or I see something that I want to add to a novel and I just start writing. And it may not make sense in the beginning, but it's when it all comes together that it really starts making sense.
Like, it all comes together at the end, whereas you start reading it.
Yes, and I read my novels so much because one of the things that I promised, I've read novels that there's so many grammatical errors, there's so many sentences that don't make sense. I never want to put out a piece of work that the first 4 or 5 pages you said, nah, this isn't from me, or this guy really can't write, or it doesn't make sense. And so I spend so much time reading the novels over and over and over again. And if I have one flaw, that's it. Before I turn it over to someone to actually attempt to proofread it, or get it ready for marketing. But by the time I get a novel ready, I'm like, I can't read this anymore. Let's go ahead and put it out.
So I'm curious kind of how your writing style has evolved over time and changed and grown with you.
I think um, I think my passion for what I'm trying to see when I write, as I stated, I start from the very end, and I come up with uh, these characters, and a dramatic end, so the reader is blindsided. Well, that's the name of the next book, but this book. But I want them to be, oh, I did not see that, or oh, and when I get that feedback from the readers and say, hey, I did not see that coming, thank you, then I know that I've done what I intended to do. I think it has grown with me going more into depth of using outside communities, right? So I've have novels that where it takes place overseas, using my military background, places that I live. I use my background in using the landscapes of New York City, where I lived and worked for a while, or Texas. One of the things that I always really wanted to do is to make sure I have color in it. For me, if you're going to write a novel, especially if it's fiction, it's the characters and the areas that they are living in should make sense to the reader, and I want them to feel like they're almost there. It's, I call it adding the color to your writing, making sure that when you're thinking about a tree and you're pictorial that tree, that people can say, yeah, I can see that. I can see that maple tree. I can see that pine tree. I can feel it. It's in my mind. It's vivid. And so I want to make sure I add that cover. So if I've grown any, it's about adding more color to my writing.
So I know you said how you start at the end of your novel and what you like want to happen at the end, but I'm kind of curious, how do you develop your characters throughout the novel that way?
So once you create the end, for me, it's about making sure you know your characters at that end. Who are these 4 or 5 people in your novel? Who will they be? Will they be technology driven? Will they be managers or supervisors? Or will they be in the military? Would it be someone coming off the street? And then you can develop I develop my characters that way, by going back to some of the times in my life or the things that I've seen, and basing the characters off what I've met, the people that I've met, some of the things I've seen people do. And I just make sure I keep that focus, right? And you always have 3, 4, 5 main characters. And so those are the ones that you want to make sure you're driving that same focus on, but they're side characters, the people that make them who they are. Picture yourself as being a father. If there's a father doing that, how would you want your father to be? How do you think your father would be in this situation, or your mother, or even a fiance or boyfriend? And so I gather that around that and start creating those characters, making them stronger.
That's amazing. I love that.
Mhm.
So, for everyone that's just tuning in, by the way, my name is Arianna. I am the host and producer of Aim for the Stars, and we are coming to you from Just TV, and my guest is Danny M. Gray, an author and actor. So we talked a lot about your writing career so far, but you're also an amazing actor, and I just wanted to know more about that. Like, so far, what has been your favorite on-set experience?
I don't know. We have a movie on excuse me, Prime Video called A Match Made in Heaven. And I think that has been one of the movies that was exciting to make. It came about, actually, we were getting ready to add some scenes to it and do some other things to that film. And, Prime Video said, no, we want it just like it is. And so they took it and they put it out there. But I think for me, being a director, I think being a director, trying to act at the same time, that's challenging. But visually what you want the characters to display. And so when you're directing someone, or the lighting that you want, or the moves that you want, those things seem to come to the forefront. And then you're trying to deliver a character as well, which is very difficult and challenging. And so although I love directing, I love seeing people on camera, I love giving them ideas, making them better. I do like acting as well, but if I had to pick one of the two, it would be more the director role, because that's challenging within itself. I remember working on the book trailer for The Lingering Horrors of the Past. I worked with a company here in Atlanta, and the vision we were trying to get for that book trailer. I won't tell the book, it's a lingering horror of the past, but when we were shooting that book trailer, we wanted to showcase certain elements within that book that the reader would never guess, but you would see it. And then when you came back to the book trailer, once you read the novel, you would say, ah, that makes sense. And I think the creativity in that, it really makes your character, when you're acting, a stronger character, because you can understand what other directors, what other producers are trying to get from you. Fortunately, we're working on a new script now for our upcoming movie. We're planning on shooting that in June. And pretty much some of the same people that I've worked with. I'll be directing that as well, but we just finished the script. We just had the script approved. And so I'm looking forward to that. But just being around other actors and realizing, like the Jeffrey Wrights or the Julianne Moores, or they are just like you. They're normal people. And when you meet these people, you in awe, but then you slowly realize that they're just like you. They're doing the same thing that you're doing. And so that's exciting as well.
So did you always want to be an actor, or did you want to be a director, or how did one kind of segue into the other?
I think in the early days, I started working on a TV series in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I think it was the magic for me. There's so much stuff that go on the set, and it's shot so many times, so many different angles, and everybody thinks that's an easy job, and it's not. But when you see it on film or you see it in the theater on TV, all the stuff that went into it, you do not see that. And just making that magic happen, even if it's for 1 minute of the film or 2 minutes of the film, or how it all comes together, that has always been exciting for me. So, wanting to be in that industry has been one of my key focuses.
Does you being in that industry versus the writing industry, do they contribute to one another? Does it help you be a director? Does it help you build your stories?
Yes. Yes, I think they're totally different, right? Because if you're a writer, you can pretty much sit off by yourself, be anywhere and write. I oftentimes I like going to the beach. I grew up near Wilmington, North Carolina, or Jacksonville, North Carolina. So I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time on the beach. That's my happy place. That's my joyful place. And so when I get there and I'm writing and I'm peaceful and it's just me, it allows me to write, but it also offers you the ability to just focus on you. But when you're shooting a film, there's so many other people that are engaged, and just trying to make sure that you're delivering exactly what they expect you to deliver. I was talking to Jeffrey Wright, and one of the things that he said to me at one point was, I said, Jeffrey, excuse me, sir, why do you always get in your wheelchair when you come onto the set? And he looked at me, he said, they're paying me to be in a wheelchair. And so the moment I come on set, I want to get in that wheelchair and start acting, regardless of whether the camera's rolling or not, because that's what they're paying me for. And that really opened up my eyes to, when I get on a set, I want to make sure that I'm portraying and doing the things that I've been asked to do from the moment I get on the set, whether the camera's rolling or the camera's not rolling. Just be that person so I can always be in character and ready to film when they're ready to film.
That's always that's really good. I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people think it's just easy to, get into character when there's a lot behind it. Actually,
Oh, yes.
I have a question about that. Do you have kind of like a process? Is that your process, just coming into set? Do you have any rituals or anything that you like to do to prepare?
I just really like to read the script over and over and over. If the opportunity presents itself, I would like to speak with the director and get their view on this character so I can start viewing my character or making my character. But I just want to make sure that when I come there, that I'm fully prepared or as prepared as you can be, right? And so if I have the opportunity to speak with the director and he's giving me his view or her view on what they see in this character, and then I can bring that character to life. Or if they say, no, bring your own character, bring who you see this character being, then I start thinking about my uncles or, people that I worked with or people that I spent time with. How would they carry themselves and would they fit into this role? And from there, I start building myself there. I don't have any rituals other than when I get on set, the happy-go-lucky Danny M. Gray don't exist. I'm there to do a job, and I want to keep my focus in doing that job and make sure that I'm delivering who they asked me to be.
So you talked a lot about your military and your family. Do any of those inspire you, keep you going, or do you have someone else you look up to, kind of like a role model?
Yes, I think for me, I would probably call out my Uncle Larry. And when I was growing up, he lived in South Carolina, he lived in Kansas, he lived in Richmond, Virginia. And he was just that type of leader that I wanted to be from from a leadership standpoint. He was always there for us. He always presented himself very professional and driving those. So when I left the military and I came into my professional software career, I tried to mimic that as I continue to grow in the software industry. And so when I think about success, and it's not always about money, it's about doing the best that you can with what you have. But he showed me that the impossible is always possible if you drive and strive to be that. And so when I think about my background, whether it's from Maple Hill or Conway, South Carolina, I think about the strong people that have successfully navigated life, whether it's owning their own business or worked in the federal government for 30 years. Those things resonate with me. But the key thing that resonate with me is what am I doing for my community of Maple Hill. I never want to put out a book or do a movie that they can't read or watch. I'm not saying my books are perfect. I'm not saying the characters I play are perfect, but I want to make sure that the Christian base within my family have the ability to enjoy what I'm doing. I was telling you last weekend I was home, doing a youth program, and it felt good being in the community and people, acknowledging what I'm doing, very pleased with what I'm doing, the things I've done, my Christian family, as well as my, just the friends I grew up with. It's not something that people can look at and say, wow, nah, I can't go with that. I had an opportunity for a television show, one of the major ones that's on now. And when I understood what that television show was, I said, that's not for me, because that's not the person or character I want to portray to my daughters, to my mother, to my ancestors. I want to portray someone that's clean, because we can be clean people on television or on in film.
So I know you touched base on how you like to do a lot for your community. It seems like you like going to the beach. Are there any other hobbies that you like to do, or anything else makes you happy?
Writing makes me happy. That's my happy place. And that's probably because I guess mainly I'm an introvert. So when I can spend time with myself, and sometimes when I read some of the things I've written, I'm like, wow, did you really do that? I was reading The Lingering Horrors of the Past, just after I released Blindsided. And as I read through The Lingering Horrors of the Past, it's hard to believe that I even, wrote that, right? It's like, wow, this is your passion. This is what you enjoy doing. And when I read a script or write a script, and I read through the script, and then when I'm trying to explain to the actors and actresses what I'm looking for, those are my happy places. But just for fun, I enjoy just riding, getting in my car riding. I enjoy going out to play around the golf. I enjoy good restaurants, and I do love to travel. That comes from my military background. I think the military took me to places my small mind could never conceive, like going to Germany, like working in Malaysia, like working in the UK. I don't think my mind could conceive that type of travel. And so when I have that opportunity, I'm always blessed. I'm always honored to go and just enjoy myself, enjoy other cultures, and look at their lifestyle. I got a surprise for you on like I'm 2 books out from it, but it deals with one of my military travels or the areas that I lived in at that point.
So how do you balance all of this? Your work, leisure, family, friends. What challenges do you face with all of this stuff that is on your plate?
I think the older you get, you start to realize how valuable people are. When I lost my mother, that was something I could not conceive. I never thought that I would lose her. And so I think at that point, my mind started to take a different focus. Yes, you want to be successful, but you have to find a balance. You have to make sure you're spending time in the communities. And then when I lost my father a year and a half ago, that hit me even hard because I had just spent time with him in June of that year. And I spent 4 days with him, amazing days, but I saw him differently than I ever seen him. I've never seen him that weak. And so when I saw him that weak, I realized how fragile life truly is. And so I think for me, it's about making the time, dedicating your time. You know, my girls, I enjoy spending time with my girls. I enjoy spending time with my wife. I enjoy spending time with my friends. And so I make those times. Writing is a passion, but it's not my everything. Working in the software industry is a job I enjoy doing, but it's not my everything. So I think mentally you have to carve out that time. You have to make that time happen.
That's really good advice for just like anybody in general. Do
Yes.
you have any upcoming projects that you would like to discuss? Books, director stuff, actor stuff?
Well, I am working on a new novel. I started that last week while I was on the beach. I drafted up the outline and how I perceive that one to go. So look for that. It'll probably be midsummer before I release that. But I finished a script for a new holiday movie. I'm excited about that. We have people that's interested. I've had several phone calls about two of my novels, The Lingering Horrors of the Past and Dedication's Price, that the studios are interested in. So I'm excited about where that may go. And I think the more you do, the more opportunities present themselves. And so I'm excited to see one of those come to the screen. I've finished the script for Dedication's Price. It's been sitting on the shelf, but I'm ready to see some magical things happen.
All right. And I think that's pretty much all I have time for. Is there anything else you want the viewers to know? Your social medias, all of that good stuff?
Yes. So I am on Facebook. The Lingering Horrors of the Past is one of my Facebook pages. Mandel Gray is another Facebook page. My website is DannyMandelGray.com. I am on Instagram, Danny Gray Author. I'm on Twitter with the Horrors of the Past. So you can find me almost anywhere. And I am on IMDb. So you can find me under Danny M. Gray on IMDb.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you so much to our viewers for watching Aim for the Stars. Be sure to catch all the other episodes on Just TV and our Roku.
Lights, camera, action, that's it. 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 camera, action, that's it.